Welcome, Internet, to the PixelPlay Podcast, your weekly independent gaming podcast where we get together to talk about all things, surprisingly, video games. This week, we're going to be talking about all the announcements from Summer Game Fest, ranking them, seeing who came out on top, who came out on the bottom, and who was right on our podcast for last week's predictions. If you haven't watched last week's episode, stop right now, go back and watch the last one. It's totally relevant at this point in time, and we'll come back.
And totally correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even know we could get 110% of them correct. That's crazy how we did that.
And if you like that and you want to hear more, we post podcasts every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube and Spotify if you want to see our lovely faces as we record them. If you want to be part of the show, if you want to submit questions, be part of the community, we have a whole social media thing, linktr.ee/PixelPlayPodcast. With that being said, I forgot to introduce you guys. Yeah. I'm joined by my host, Adam at CS Radical and Chris at Jin and Chris. This week, we're going to jump in and start talking about it right now. Guys, how are you all doing?
Adam seems like he's doing great. Just dancing with his controllers.
I don't know. I don't know. The console wars is fully alive apparently again, but this is a whole other thing. I mean, I'm doing all right.
What have you guys been playing? What are you guys up to?
I've been playing what I can only describe to be like if Typing of the Dead was in more of like a RPG, like a dungeon crawling RPG. So I'm playing a game called Crypt Master, which I try on a whim just because I'm like, all right, it looks like this weird like Tales of the Crypt Keeper shit, but it has a cool idea where everything you do is typed out, or including like your attacks. So as you learn spells, I mean, if anybody watching on YouTube, you can see the screen right now, but the way that the game works is it's like your typical like old school dungeon crawl RPG where it's first person, you're walking almost like it's like Myst controls, sort of like that level stuff. But you'll see we have 4 characters and they all have some sort of letter combination underneath them that you're slowly working out. So every time you beat an enemy, you're slowly whittling away their health, which is letters. It looks almost like a Scrabble block. It's just a bunch of random letters usually. And once you beat that enemy, you can pick a letter to add to your pile. And if there's any letter that belongs to the word that your character is trying to get, it gets added to them. You can guess the word at any time. Or if you're a cheatsy doodler, you can just look up the list and you can just put them all in like that. Like it's no big deal. But, I think they do lock it at some point so you can't just get like the best spells at the beginning of the game. So there is a point where you do have to progress a little bit. But like, for example, one of the characters, I know that one of his Maz there, M-A-Z there, his spell is yell, but this person, whoever's playing, is waiting till he actually figures it out in full, and then we'll type it. But you can just keep guessing. So, like, there were times where I'd be sitting on a word being like, what fucking letter am I missing? And you just keep typing over and over again. There's no punishment for being wrong. You just, except for the narrator, aka the creepy Crypt Master dude, just being like, and it sounds like it's some sort of AI generated in how the voice is, because it will often say whatever you write. So I'll be like, instead of yell, I put in sell, and he'll go, sell? No, I don't think we can do that. Like, it'll just keep doing stuff like that to let you know it's like, wrong, dumbass. But, like, everything is done through typing. So if you're fighting, if you got to type hit, some guy needs to type in jab, some guy needs to type in yell, and it might refresh another guy's queue so he can do it again. And every time that you take a hit, you can lose a letter. And if your character's letters are completely gone, they're incapacitated. So it's definitely just it's this weird gimmick of just your keyboard is your weapon here. Similar to, like I said, what like Typing of the Dead is. And it's got a really unique design to it in terms of like how it looks like. I know you guys can see it right now, but for those listening on audio, it's very much like a black and white, almost like pencil, like shaded, drawn sort of like, comic. It's really neat in how it runs. And it has a creepy vibe to it. I know Chris, when we were watching it before we started streaming, he's like, I don't think I could do this. It's too creepy. I'm like, it's not creepy. Like, if I'm being real, I've played about 3 hours of it. There's no horror to it. It's more of just like that Tales of the Crypt Keeper, like kids, like goosebumpy vibe to it. So it's not actually scary. It's just more of the the faux spooky vibe to it. But like, I think it's a really neat game with a cool concept. It isn't a game that I'm going to be like, oh my God, I need to play this right now. It's more of a, I'm not really doing anything for a couple hours. Let's go pop back in there and kind of run through a little bit more. It is, again, much like an old school game as well. You can easily get lost on the map a little bit, so there is a bit of a wandering, as a lot of those games used to be too. So it definitely does feel like those old 90s, early 2000s like dungeon crawlers. So it plays that part really well. And also, if you are a big riddle guy, it's chock full of them. For, like, you're seeing one on screen where it can get you extra currency, but there's also chests which will give you a lot of words as well. Like, if you open a chest and let's say he'll say like, "Oh, I got this item here," and you got 5 guesses to figure out what it is, and that includes hints. So you could type in "look," and he'll say what it looks like. You can type in "remember," and he'll say, "Oh, this is what I remember I did with it," sort of deal. And if you get it right, whatever the word is, let's say it's helmet, and you get all of those letters, so all of those letters apply to all your characters, so you might actually get a big jump in your abilities right away. So there is some nice like thought process. Like, your brain has to do a little bit of work on some of these things, which is pretty nice. But the most thing that's been happening is the riddles. I've sat there for like 5 minutes being like, what the fuck is the answer to this riddle? And eventually I give up and Google it.
Chris, you got the answer for this riddle?
No, I'm like trying all these different things.
Yeah, like for example, the riddle on screen right now, it says, "I prod at the earth and tickle the sky. Should I touch you, you're bound to die. What am I?" And the answer is lightning.
Yeah, I was going with like tornado something.
It at least tells you how many letters it is, so it gives you a ballpark on what direction to go in. There are some though that I stared at blankly and went, "I'm an idiot. I'm too stupid for this. We're googling this one." But yeah, I think it's a really neat game, and it's again one of those cases where it's like, I am so happy that I don't spend nearly as much time in the AAA sphere anymore, because now I get to see like really interesting ideas like this compared to. I mean, no offense, I love a lot of these games, but I don't need to be spending 60 plus hours on a sort of like, instead of spending as much time as I did in Rebirth's open world, would have loved to have played more of these. Let's just go with that. But yeah, if you're interested in these kind of games, Cryptmaster might actually be way up your alley.
And 60-hour AAA segues into what Kaylan's playing. I'm still burning my way through Rise of the Ronin and Advanced Wars 2. Both of them, like, the polish is kind of wearing off on these two. So Advanced Wars 2,
I was going to ask, like, is Rise of the Ronin, how far are you in Rise of the Ronin at this point?
I am starting chapter 2, like,
hour-wise, what are we looking at?
Oh, I'm probably like 20 some odd hours in.
So yeah, now assuming you're, let's say, anywhere between half to a little bit more than that, like, how are you feeling now at this point? Because I mean, obviously now that you've had the amount of time you have, has like the shine really worn off?
Yeah, a little bit. So the game is good. Like the game is good and stuff. The problem is this, like, it's like going to a restaurant and getting a $15 steak. Like, it's not the best steak in the world, but it's good. But I don't want to order like a 72 ounce of it. Like, it's overstaying its welcome. Like, it does some stuff. It does it well. Like, I'm liking the combat. I'm liking the setting. I don't really care about the story, which is kind of a downer for me because I'm very much story driven. But like, the story is kind of inconsequential. I have no idea what's going on. There's a bunch of like activities you can go and like liberate bases and go find fugitives and take pictures. Like, there's that collectathon aspect. But the game is just so big that you can almost spend 100 plus hours in this game, and I don't know if I want to. Like, the animation, like, the environments look good, the facial animations don't. The combat is good, but it's repetitive. So it's just like, it does stuff, but it just overstays for everything that it does.
Yeah, like, I'm looking at like the time to play. Like, it's saying like for people that just rush through it, it's 22 hours, and then the like midpoint is somewhere around 45 to 50. To which I'm like, you know, if you were trying to be a little bit better than Ghost of Tsushima or up next to it, going long is probably not the best idea.
Yeah. This game is very much like the old analogy of like a pond that's like a mile wide and an inch deep kind of thing. Like, it's cool, but like there's like so much loot that's given to you that I don't care anymore. Like, I don't even bother checking my loadouts. And then granted, I'm playing on easy because I don't like, this game is long and I don't want to have a true Soulsborne-esque experience, so I'm just playing on easy. But like, I'm not checking equipment. I don't care about my allies. I don't want to build relationships. Like, there's just a lot of mechanics that are done half-assed, and not like badly, but just maybe? Like, yeah, kind of like, it's not super well developed. So for me, it's not a bad game. I like, if I were to score it today on our 6-point scale, I'd give it like a 3. Like it's not a must play, but if you're looking at it and it seems interesting to you, it's worth playing. Like it's not bad by any stretch, but this is not going to be something that if you're not into it, you're gonna be
You're
won
more at the
over.
point
Like
of going, oh my god, I can't wait for Assassin's Creed Shadows to be so much better.
pretty much. Like it's like I'd rather be playing Ghost of Tsushima or I'd rather be playing Assassin's Creed, that kind of stuff.
I mean, you can
Like
play Ghost of Tsushima soon on PC.
true. Like and the other thing too is like it's inconsistent. Like sometimes I play a stealth, but like the stealth mechanics aren't super well fleshed out. Sometimes they can't see me, sometimes they can. It's just it's okay. Like it's good at what it does, but I just wish that there wasn't so much. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but
I
like
don't
said,
think
it
it
goes
is
back to
anymore. Like I think we're at the point now that like I don't think we need 50 to 60 hour games anymore. I think like a good 20 to 30 max is like a nice spot now because it doesn't end up dragging. It's almost like how you see when a lot of shows go past 5 seasons and you're like, you didn't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly 20 to 30 hours would have been the sweet spot for this game, especially because like the story's inconsequential. I feel like they could have trimmed a lot of the fat there. Like even I'm at the point where I don't even care what I'm at. Like I'm like level probably like 20-ish or something. And I don't care anymore about the skill trees because like I don't care about the skills. It's all just like, hey, get extra buffs and like all this stuff. And there's nothing interesting that's changing the gameplay element that I'm like, whatever. So I'm like, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not having a bad time, but I think I'm just gonna like golden path it now and just go from mission to mission until I hit a wall that stops me from a level cap perspective. But I'm ready to go play some other games. And then Advanced Wars, I'm liking that. I don't care about the story. I feel like the story's very like it doesn't do a lot different from Advanced Wars 1. It's the same characters. They all have the same tropes and characters that they had in the first one. Like not like the characters are the same, but also like their personality. Like they didn't learn anything. They didn't develop anything from like the first game. So it feels just like more of Advanced Wars 1. And I kind of wish they had done like either some new units or some new like commanders or something like that. It feels just more. And I don't like the levels and how they're designed in that. There's usually like a parameter around it. Like I always hated like playing Command and Conquer, and it's like you only have these soldiers, and when they're gone, they're gone. Like I hated playing that way. And I find Advanced Wars does that a lot, where they set unnecessary restrictions or parameters around the missions versus just get to the other side.
Yeah, it's those type of games have always been like the ones that they're fun to start, and then there's coming a certain point. Like I love XCOM to death. I've never finished an XCOM run though, because it always gets to a point where you're like, okay, either you hit a wall where you're just like, this is getting too hard, and I can't deal with this, or it's like I've been playing basically the same missions again and again and again, and it starts to drag. Like I've only ever finished one Fire Emblem game. And that's also back in the day of emulation where I could turbo speed it. Like so like it's not as like some of those games, like unless you're like super into them, it's hard to stick with them.
I also find that like the length of them also makes it that I'm less inclined to play them again. Like I was thinking about I'm never going to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla ever again because I don't want to commit 80 hours when I have so many other new games to play. But like a game like The Last of Us, I've probably played 3 or 4 times at least because it's easy to pick it up and beat it within a couple weeks. And now granted, don't have a lot of time. Like you can beat that game in like a weekend if you wanted to, but like it's not hard to pick up, revisit, and then put it away. And I feel like that 15 to 30 hour time frame is like the perfect sweet spot.
That's like an interesting topic for like a full show to really deep dive into. But yeah, it really does feel like these days, like a lot of games, like I don't have nearly as much of an inclination to replay games today as I do with games that are 10 plus years older because their runtimes generally aren't as long.
Yeah, like another game that I replay frequently, and it'll ironically come up is Doom 2016 because it is easy to put it in, rip and tear for a bit, and then you just bounce out.
Yeah, because even like games like Skyrim and stuff, like you can still go back to them and just literally dick about for about 2 hours and be like, yeah, I got what I wanted. Like I could literally turn on Vice City today and just be like, you know what? I'm getting on a motorcycle. I'm gonna go get a 2 or 3 star level and just see how long I can run through the city without getting just knocked off my bike. Like sometimes there's just like really random things you can do. But then a game like, a Starfield, it's like, okay, well, I guess I can just go to another planet that I haven't been to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually, kind of connecting with that, it's the reason why, even though I'm playing newer games and everything, and I'll talk about what I've been playing in a second, I also just have been beating a lot of random retro games that I see take like an hour or two to beat. Like, for example, I just played through and beat Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, that Game Boy game,
Mhm.
because it has like a 1.1 hour like beat time in total, like to 100% the game. So it's fun to actually pick up a game, play through for just an hour on the couch or whatever. I'm obviously doing this on like Steam Deck, and then just like fully beat it. And it's like, cool. That actually was very enjoyable. And it was quick. And I've probably played that and beat that game like 15 times in my life, just randomly playing it, especially back when it was new on Game Boy. But yeah, like I completely agree that these length of these games is daunting, and it actually makes the game feel more like a chore eventually than an actual hobby, which kind of sucks. Because if you're doing something like painting miniatures or something, and if you're like, oh, this is too much of a chore right now, you can walk away from it. You can be like, I'm not going to come back for a few weeks, and you'll get that urge to come back and do something creative again when you feel like it and do it. Whereas in a game, that you don't really get that as much, because if you walk away and you come back, like how many times have we come back to a game after 3 months and we're like, who the hell are you? What is this? Where am I going? What's the story? Like you're lost. You almost have to start over.
Mm.
And then you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like this game's dead to me. Like I walked away and now it's dead to me.
Yeah, like it's so easy to
Yeah.
go back to a lot of these games. Granted, a lot of games back in the day were short, but like, geez, we keep saying it. Like at some point, you and I need to get together and just like have a race to see who can finish a Sonic game the fastest.
Well, fun you say that. I could basically tell you how long I can beat Sonic 1, Sonic CD, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles in a row, because I also played through and did that on Sonic Origins. The speed is incredible, Adam. I beat all of them. I had all of the Chaos Emeralds in Sonic 3 by the Mushroom... No, not Mushroom Cap. What the heck is the first level? Angel Island.
Oh, for
Right
three,
after
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mushroom Hill is Knuckles' first
No,
level.
that's Knuckles. Yeah. So I got all of the Chaos Emeralds. No, sorry, it was Hydro City, because there was one ring I hadn't got yet. So I had all the Chaos Emeralds, second level of Sonic. Boom, burst through it. Then I go into Sonic and Knuckles, had all of the Hyper Emeralds in Mushroom Hill. Like I am still way too good at Sonic games. It is ridiculous. I played
So I
through
should
all
probably
5
take back
games.
what I just said. Sounds like you'd whip my ass.
Yeah, I would whip your ass. Like I remember you mentioning the Sonic 3 final boss was difficult. I didn't get hit once, and I had no rings because I lost them all because I turned supersonic and the rings count down to 0. I went in, not one hit, not one, just ba-boom, 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 always dead. Yeah, I still got it, man. Sonic was my jam.
And in terms of this week, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing this week? I have played a couple games. I started playing Tactics Ogre, which is a remake of the old Super Nintendo tactical game. I purchased Advance Wars because it's on sale for probably the first time, and probably it'll go as low as it's going to go. So I started playing that. I'm at your like honeymoon stage with it at the beginning, where it's like
Yeah.
fun and like just a simple
Advance
pick up
Wars.
and
Advance
play.
Wars 1 is great. Like I fully recommend Advance Wars 1. I think it's the strongest of the two, and I think it's worth it buying just for that one game.
Yeah, because I'm like just loving, like I was barbecuing and I had my Switch outside and I'm like, all right, it takes about 12 minutes to do that. And I played through like 1 or 2 levels of that and it was delightful. Like it is the perfect, just my wife is watching a show or YouTube. I don't really want to watch the same thing as her. I'll throw on headphones, sit next to her and just play some Advance Wars. The story makes no sense. Why are there kids with tanks? Like this is the most ridiculous. Like I was actually confused the whole time.
Yeah.
Like go to school. You're 8 or
Eh.
something. What is
Fuga
this?
Melodies of Steel basically made it so that like no, we will not only will we give kids tanks, they'll be
And-
furry kids tanks.
No, it's not the kids have tanks. Kids are leading battles, and it's like
Yeah.
some adults in a tank being like, "Oh, okay, I'll go."
Well,
fight
come on.
over
I
there
played
because-
Fire Emblem. Do you really think the leader's going to be some grizzled 55-year-old general? Come on now. It's got to be some smoking huts, probably like underage girl, because that's how Japan usually runs. But
There is the
Um,
hot girl, or at least she's the ops person, like
Yeah,
leading the kids,
that's the-
and the
yeah.
kids are dumb. It's like, okay, we're gonna go do this. Do you remember how he's like going in guns blazing? It's like, no, strategy. We talked about this. Like, wait, you're still letting him go into a war, and he doesn't know
well, what do you
what
expect? The kid was
strategy
on his
is.
phone the entire time class was on.
This game came out before cell phones, or at
No,
least
no. This game
smartphones.
understood what life was going to be like when cell phones came in.
But it's like
Um,
it's nice because it's a game that doesn't require volume. Like you could literally.
Oh yeah,
I've like
Put on a
listened to a
podcast.
podcast or like,
Yeah.
watched a show while I'm playing that in the background. It's a nice
yeah.
side game to play.
Yes, I'm gonna definitely do that. But those are just like side things right now. I'm trying not to play my Steam Deck too much because I've realized like it's all I'm doing, and Game Pass is like, hi, my PlayStation's like, hello, my gaming PC's like, hey man, haven't talked in a while. So that's why I've been trying to like do a few more things. But I did actually play through and beat something, which is what I do want to like, I guess, put my most focus on, which is Hellblade 2. I finally beat it,
Ooh.
100% of the achievements, which is not difficult to do, by the way. I just followed a guide of where the collectibles were. It's one of those games where it's like, get all the collectibles and beat the game, and you'll unlock every achievement, except one other one, which is open photo mode. You don't even have to take a photo. And I use photo mode all the time, especially in this game. Hellblade 2 was in my opinion, because I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about this. For me, this is a cinematic like masterpiece. This is just a beautiful game that talks about like mental health, but also just like, hey, shit's going down in Iceland and it's going to be fucking creepy and all this shit. The graphics look insane. And this is one of those games where I feel like the graphics really do bring out everything. Because the game is the same as the first game. The actual gameplay is extremely shallow. There are battles, there is puzzle solving, but at no point are you really going to feel like overwhelmed by any of it. The puzzles are more like walk around this map and you need to make these specific like character shapes um out of like objects. So you like say if you need to make the letter A, you'd have to find where when walking around this village the letter A is and zoom in on it. It's like you did it. That's part 1 of 3 of the puzzle, and it's like find 3 of those, which is not too hard at all. The battles are very cinematic, and they're more just about like parry and then attack back. And if you get okay with that, you're gonna be completely fine. Even up until the final battle, like that is the gist of it. But where the game really shines is when just these big cinematic moments happen. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but it'll just be just like fire all around you, and you have to run from one end to the other. But every few seconds, there's a big explosion and it burns the entire place. And if you're not standing behind a rock, you will also burn. And it's just the strategy of like getting from one end to the other in this massive cinematic moment with crazy music, and playing with headphones was insane. The amount of times I actually thought something or someone was behind me or in the room, like it was not easy, because even just like the sound of a door opening or closing, they put so much effort into the actual sound quality of this game that it blew my mind. So
It's the kind of game that you're like, man, if that was something we had in VR, good lord.
oh God, I don't know if I could survive it. I'm not gonna lie. Like some of the stuff you have to see, one of the levels is really, really triggering for anybody with claustrophobia and that kind of stuff. It's all underground and there is no light, minus the little bit of light that you can get. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. And the things happening down there, it's like a horror film. Like it is terrifying. It's dark. With headphones, it's mostly just about sound because you can't see anything where you're really going and all that. All done on purpose, obviously. And holy crap, just like that chapter was really difficult for me to get through without just like fainting. Because I'm like fine with the dark, I assume, and I don't feel claustrophobic. But when I was playing this, I was afraid of the dark. I was afraid of like getting
Oh,
trapped
I would hate that
underground.
chapter. It's like the idea of like I see all the time people talk about like hyperbaric time chambers, and I'm like, or not time chambers, hyperbaric chambers, and I'm like, that scares the shit out of me. Just being in a really small enclosed canister. No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. This is just the thing where it's like it's so dark you have to push yourself through some rocks. You don't know if something's going to be on the other side. You can't really see, but you can hear things, and it's in your headphones, and it's coming from here and then it's over there. It was so good. Like it's insane the amount of feeling they were able to create, whether it's fear, the relief of like coming out of that area and just seeing the outside and it's beautiful Iceland with the sun out and stuff like that. It's like, holy crap, I have never appreciated such just gorgeous scenery ever in my life because of what they made you go through. So it is very, very, very cool. It's only 6 chapters. It feels very complete, minus the ending is one of those like, open interpretation, like kind of like let's have a discussion ending kind of things.
Mm.
Um but otherwise it is a very linear just story being told, and it is just the visuals, the audio, and like the themes. Do not go in for any kind of gameplay. Like, just it's a walking simulator, I guess, with a bunch of puzzles and battles and stuff. Like, it's not just walking.
It's very much going to be more of an art game
It's
than
an
it's going to be
art
anything
game.
else.
Yes. If anybody was looking for like a triple A, like this is going to rival Starfield or Spider-Man, God of War. I know I have one friend who compares this like, oh, it looks like it's a God of War. This is absolutely not a God of War. Do not go into this thinking it's God of War. God of War is an
it's what
action
Square
game.
Enix honestly should be actually doing with its over-the-top friggin' graphics engines that it always lauds. It's like, hey, instead of doing this really bad 80-hour game, why don't you just do some cool like 8-hour art piece?
Oh yeah. And the fact that I beat this, all achievements, meaning I got every collectible, which doesn't bring much. The collectibles are actually just really cool. One of them tells the story of like some Norse gods. Every time you find this little pillar, zoom on it, you get a little bit of narration, but then you get to just keep walking while you listen to it. And the other things are really cool because they're actually rock faces. Like, they look like human faces in rocks, and when you zoom in on it, it actually like warps it, and it actually turns out it's a path that looks like a face, and you're able to walk through it. It was there the whole time kind of idea, but you didn't notice it. So they're actually kind of neat to find, and they're not overwhelming. And so many of them you just kind of see as you're going anyways on the path. You can beat this game in 7 hours. It's like just a delightful
Yeah, even
7 hour
completion
game.
is how long to beat, saying like not even 10 hours to complete it. So
Yeah,
full.
with my 100%, I think it took me like 8.5. And that's because, again,
Nice.
maybe 1 hour was me looking, not even like getting the collectibles, just looking at the guide because I didn't want to spoil anything. So it was more just I'd see the image of like, this is the moment you have to stop going on the path and go right. And I just kind of was paying attention to that and looking at my guide. So you can beat this in a solid 7 hours. You don't have to do it all at once. There's 6 chapters. It has chapter select with checkpoints as well. So if you want to like leave the game and do like 1 chapter a day, something like that, basically you could do a chapter a day, and that would be, it's almost like the chapter ending in a book and going to the next chapter where it's like, okay, now this is the next part of the story. So it has perfect break points too if you don't want to do it all at once and just do a couple chapters on a weekend and stuff. So it also just perfect for what I was looking for, which was a non 80-hour game. I just needed something smaller, and that was exactly.
I think that's gonna be my next game once I finish Rise of the Ronin.
It is delightful, and you don't need to play through the first one. It's one of those games that does just a perfect recap of the first game right before, and the two really aren't necessary. It helps understand where she came from and now why she's here, but again, the recap is perfect. It's good enough. I'm playing the first one again. I am going to go through it because Xbox had done that thing to me where as I was playing, it wasn't unlocking the achievements. The game was bugged, and I didn't realize, and I got way too far. So I'd have to restart. And ended up playing it on Steam and beating it there instead where the achievements were working. But now I'm going to go back because I want to do the first story again and kind of see that. Because again, it was the same thing as this game, just the graphics are obviously nowhere near as realistic. It's insane, the graphics in the second game. Because one other last thing, when you go into photo mode, every piece of this game is in engine. These insane cutscenes that look way too real. If you go into photo mode, you can turn and actually go around the entire scene, and you can see the whole thing. Like, this isn't a pre-rendered video. It's the entire thing is in engine, and you can add light sources and do all these crazy things. So it's like they've managed to make these graphics without having to make actual video, and it's insane just how like you're looking at it and you're like, oh my god, that's it. I'm supposed to move the character right now. I thought this was a cutscene. Like, it's insane. So highly recommend.
Chris, I was gonna ask, like, based on all your comments and stuff, like, I know we're not gonna do like a full deep dive into it, but like, what would you give this in like the untimely review scale, like of 1 to 6?
If you're somebody that's okay with like a AA game and this is an art game, you're not expecting it to be AAA, this is a 6 out of 6 for me, hands down. This is probably in my top 3 Xbox games that I've ever played. Now, I haven't played a lot, like 360 and original Xbox. I wasn't really in there, but this is in my top 3 Xbox games for what it is. Because again, I like art games, and for this, it was the craziest art game I've ever played, for sure.
Nice, awesome. Well, guys, I don't know if you know, but we had a bunch of announcements and conferences and stuff happen.
Oh, don't I know it?
Yeah, last week Adam reacted to all the videos as it came out, but we made some predictions about what we thought were going to come out, and so I thought we could kind of review that before we jump into what our thoughts were on the actual
Okay, spoil
show.
us. How bad were we?
Let's find that out. So, Adam, we're going to go through yours first because I have you listed. You put your first guess that there was an Xbox portable console. Didn't happen. So no points there. Chris, you also said there was going to be a portable console. That
was
didn't
right.
happen.
Oh.
Nope. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I predicted that there was going to be a deep... Now, I'm also going to give myself the asterisk. I made some pretty safe predictions in hindsight. But I put deep dive into Indiana Jones trailer with gameplay. I'm going to give myself a 0.5 on that one.
Yeah, there was no gameplay, but it was a huge deep dive trailer.
Adam, you said there was going to be Spider-Man DLC in the Summer Game Fest as well as Starfield DLC. I think that's a 0.5 for you as well.
I'm still genuinely surprised. Like the only showing was the Lego Horizon thing at Summer Game Fest.
Save it for the second topic.
It's fine.
The spoilers.
I'm so shocked that that's all it was, though. I would have put money that there was going to be more than that.
Chris, you put your second prediction was the Sonic 3 trailer. No points.
Oh, you guys didn't see it? Oh, you just must have missed it.
Well, Shadow was there.
My second prediction was Star Wars gameplay at the Ubisoft showcase.
Yeah, that's not even a fair point. Like if Ubisoft didn't show gameplay of Outlaws,
I went safe.
He went safe, and he's winning.
This motherfucker.
But also, in context, I also put fewer predictions than the rest of you guys. So like,
if we were doing gambling odds, like Kaylan's not even making money back on his bets. Like he hasn't put enough money down to make anything back from that bet.
Adam, your next prediction was Amazon coming out and showing their new Tomb Raider game.
No, they just showed us more New World stuff. Fucking boring.
Yeah.
Chris, we're so close. You predicted a Gears of War collection or an announcement for Gears of War 6.
Yeah, I love how somehow...
And technically neither are right.
Yeah, somehow it's like, it's right there. And
I don't think anyone would have called the zero, though.
No, nobody would have gone with
and then my next one was Fable 4 announcement with some showing. So yeah, but also
jeez, at this point, Kaylan might as well just bet there's gonna be games here.
Adam, your next one, Xbox coming out and showing Contraband.
I'm very fucking mad about that.
Chris, you came out saying there was going to be... Now, you want to start talking some bullshit. This is what Chris was doing. Chris was like, hey, we're going to get a bunch of announcements on COD and Activision. That was his prediction, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, technically he's wrong because there weren't a bunch of announcements on COD.
Yeah, I think I said like it was going to come to Game Pass or something like that.
Yeah,
not the new one, all the old ones.
I just put it as COD collection dump, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. I'm surprised that didn't happen.
They're probably waiting.
If you go into the episode, Chris is like, I think there's going to be a bunch of announcements on Call of Duty and Activision and Blizzard. And it's like,
I have a feeling it's going to be one of two things. They're either going to wait and see what the numbers are for Black Ops when it comes on Game Pass and then decide, or they're going to drop it like a month before when they do one more deep dive stream or something.
Yeah.
And then I came out with the prediction that there's going to be an Xbox hardware announcement excluding portable. Now, I thought it was going to be the Xbox X Sphere or the X Cylinder or whatever the hell I called it, but
yeah,
still counts. What a weird announcement that was. Like, hey.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, here's the same things. They just got like a green bottom and slightly more space.
It's just the same Malibu Stacy, but it has a fancy hat.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Adam, your last prediction, Mafia 4 announcement.
Still fucking mad.
Yeah, I assumed that.
That is the whole theme of this last like couple of weeks is there isn't that one big like franchise that I'm like, yes! But we'll get to you in a second, Kaylan. We'll worry about that later.
Yeah, and then the last prediction for Chris was Diablo 2 remaster. So
frig.
So
I suck.
if we post in the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, don't take our word for it.
Yeah. No, guys, I've heard.
Except for Kaylan's, but he wouldn't be posting that in Gaming Leaks and Rumors. It would just be, Yeah, we need to just ban you from this subreddit because I don't think you understand
Guys,
what the purpose of us is.
Insider news right now. Insider news. I got a leak right here. First world exclusive. Nintendo's developing a Mario game.
Can you imagine that actually, if they said it was like, actually, we're not right now? You'd be like, well, there's the last like of my credibility that I didn't even have.
So I feel like this is dumb because I just made the safest pot, but like I obviously won. I got 3.5 points out of this.
Yeah, you won by not trying.
I know. I'm not taking a victory lap on this one.
Look, you were playing Kirby. We were playing Dark Souls.
In that case, Chris, you win with 1 point for the Fable 4 announcement. Adam, you get 0.5 for Starfield DLC.
Hey, not a goose egg.
That's
so let's
brutal.
jump into this. Let's start talking about some of the shows. The way I want to do it, instead of us going through each show and everything like that, what I want to do is like we'll go through and we're gonna do a ranking of all 4. So we're doing State of Play, we're doing Summer Game Fest, Ubisoft, and Xbox. I'm gonna go through. We're gonna do from our least favorite show to our top favorite show, and I feel like that would kind of give us the spectrum of what went well, what didn't go well. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna rank it. So if you're 4th place, you get 1 point. If you're 1st place, you get 4 points. In the between, and that'll kind of give us our PixelPlay official showcase rankings. So
I mean, spoiler, we all know what number 1 is. It's just a matter of where the other 3 are placing. Let's be real.
We'll see.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Whoa.
Wild card.
even if I want to be contradictory, I can't even make a good case. Okay, so
I'm gonna start with Chris. Chris, what was the worst conference of this past week?
Oh, we're going right with worst. Okay,
Yeah.
so this one I've been thinking about for a bit, and I think I gotta go with Summer Games Fest.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we
Why
give
you
a
say that?
reason?
Yeah. Go give you because someone might
Because-
have it as the number 2, and we'll talk about it.
Because even though it had a couple things like that I was more interested in than some of the other showcases, like honestly, if I had to take the number of actual like games in there that I was interested in, it actually beats a couple of the other shows. But like as the entire show and how freaking long it was when they could have just like the other ones are smaller, like it just has to go into last place for me just because of all the sheer bloat that was in it. I felt like watching Summer Game Fest was like going into an app store of all these like really crappy vaporware games and there'd be like 3 really good games and then like a whole bunch of like I really don't care about the update to Valorant kind of idea or what this person on stage has to say over and over and over. So I'm gonna have to put Summer Games Fest as number 4, I think.
Okay. Adam, what was your number 4?
on the basis of there literally was pretty much nothing for me, it's Ubisoft Forward. I'm coming with a little bit of data. I'll have more for the other 3 because I didn't actually watch this stream live or even at all. I just watched the trailers that made me curious. Basically, what I did is I compiled data for all the streams, and I went, okay, how many of them did I have either a not interested, curious, or wishlist rating to it? For Ubisoft's, if I'm being as generous as I can possibly be, there is a slight curiosity for Shadows, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else there. I have no interest in Outlaws, especially from watching that gameplay. If we want to talk about it, we can maybe do it. But I have no interest in that. I could care less about Prince of Persia. Anno is strategy. It's not my thing. And then what was the last thing? I think, oh yeah, weren't they doing like Avatar DLC? So I'm like, whatever. Mm-hmm. So like if I put everything together, I had a 16% curiosity rate in the entire stream, 0 wish lists. It was just the weakest for me personally. I know some people may be like, yeah, but this and this. I'm like, yeah, but for me, it's all not there at all. There just wasn't any interest for me at all. And Shadows is just me being generous, being like, look, it's Assassin's Creed in Japan. It's what I wanted for like 1,000 years that I still didn't get. So maybe it'll be good, but that's about where I stand.
Yeah. Okay. For me, number 1 or like the least bottom ranking for me is Sony. There wasn't anything there. Like it was a half hour. Like great, you have brevity. Thanks for not wasting my time. But like, with the exception of Astrobot, like there was like Astrobot could have been a posting on the PlayStation like website. Like Concord was disappointing, and it seems like they put a lot of effort into that, and that was just disappointing. All the other games, I can't even recall what they were. I don't care. It was like Monster Hunter, whatever. Like that's pretty much it. Like especially everyone. like everyone was coming out to play chess, and Sony came up like ready to play checkers. Like it's was kind of lame in comparison to everything else. Like we'll talk about some of the other shows and stuff as well, but
And
like,
it's even more
they
frustrating
came out
because
with,
like they didn't they I don't know why it's a state of play. Like I guess maybe they wanted more time to prep stuff. Maybe they just don't have enough to go crazy. There's rumors they're going to do a bigger showcase in September, but I'm like, you could like,
at that point,
if you're ready in 3 more months, you couldn't put a couple of other trailers together, really? Like,
or just don't even show up. Like Nintendo didn't show up. Like just
well, apparently they're
save
showing
shot.
up next week, so technically
Maybe. But even still, like they've missed like the window. Like by this point, all the podcasts will have stopped talking about it. They'll move on to the next topic, and Nintendo has its own space.
Yeah, it feels
they
like
all
they would have
came-
been better off just saying like here, like just doing like a blog post and be like, hey, here's a couple of trailers of stuff that, you know, that we're looking into in the next 6 months, and then just shadow drop an Astrobot trailer and just be done with it.
That's exactly what I would have said. Like everyone was coming out doing like a salvo, like firing all cannons on the broadside, and PlayStation's throwing rocks. Like it's night and day, and they like it just makes them look bad, right? Like we're coming up now, assuming there's something in September, which is like, okay, that seems very close for your, you know, holiday games where everyone else, like we got a lot of timelines for games from Ubisoft and Xbox and PlayStation. There's nothing I'm interested in, let alone even fewer dates. So like if something comes out in September, like great.
Yeah, it's really that
When
point.
does it come out?
They're gonna shadow drop something for the last quarter of the year, and then everything else is gonna be 2025. I think at this point, like
PlayStation's
and it
not
won't even
shadow
be like a
dropping
big
anything.
name that's gonna be this year. It's gonna be something like kind of out of nowhere that's a smaller project maybe, and then that'll be it.
PlayStation's not cool enough anymore to do that kind of stuff. They're just they're.
I don't know. I'm
way
sure they
too
might be
corporate.
trying really hard now so they can take the Hi-Fi Rush spot away from Xbox.
Maybe. But anyways, for me, State of Play was just it was weak. It was a weak showing in an otherwise like great week. Chris, what was your number 3 spot, taking home the bronze?
But basically, for the exact same reasons, the Sony one.
Okay.
The only reason that it is above Summer Games Fest is just the sheer length of and all the extra. Like, while Sony had games I wasn't interested in, they were just trailers, and then they moved on to the next one. So I never was, oddly enough, I was never bored during the Sony show State of Play. None of it really mattered to me until Astrobot hit. It really is the only game I'm actually excited for there, and I'm very excited for that game, don't get me wrong. But I was never bored during it, and it was a quick watch. So it only beats Summer Game Fest because while Summer Games Fest I had like maybe 3 games I was really interested in, like the Lego Horizon and Civilization 7. This just was shorter without the bloat and like was just a little bit better of an actual like presentation with just like the literal way it was delivered, not what was delivered, just how it was delivered. And Summer Games Fest just I could go back and rewatch the Sony one. I could never go back and rewatch that Summer Games Fest. I would not be able to sit there and just do it for a second time for nostalgia. I could do that with the Sony one because it's short and whatever. So that's why it's in third.
Adam, bronze for you.
So for similar reasons, this is why my third is going to be Summer Game Fest. Now, data-wise, you would think this is the better show. I'll give the numbers for Sony when I do the number 2. There's my spoiler. I think that's pretty obvious. The data for Summer Game Fest for me, this is an hour and 55-minute show. And with a 35% curiosity rate, which rounds out to about 40 minutes worth of content that I was interested in, and only a 5% wish list rate, which is about just shy of 6 minutes of content that I'm like super into. So think about that. For 2 hours, I wasn't even invested for half of it. And that's not terrible if your show is an hour long. But for 2 hours, if I'm not interested in half of your show, I'm not enjoying things. And if anybody watched the stream, God forbid you did, thanks for chilling with me on that. It was fucking brutal. Because the first 30 minutes were fine. Like, there was stuff I didn't care for, but, like, it was still vibing well. But then you started getting the ads. You started getting the mobile games. You started getting the esports stuff. There wasn't even any, like, celebrity involvement that could have, like, offset things except for that one weird mobile game that was, like, a Clash of Clans, like, mashup with things where, like, Bobby Lee and Chris Hemsworth was fucking, like, some... I think the Clash of Clans guy, if I'm not mistaken. Like, there was that one trailer that was really funny, and then it stopped. But for like an hour's worth of time, minus like Power Rangers, it was fucking dead. And then I'm like, okay, just hang in there for the one more. The one more never came. Now I know for people who are Soulsborne folks, you got your one more, but I'm not. So fuck that show. Jeff, I love you. Make it 2 separate shows if that's what you want to do from now on. If you need to have this big, big arena that you've, signed out, have a show at the beginning. And I don't care if you tape another one and people leak it. I don't give a shit. I don't care anymore. I'll watch it later. Fine, whatever. But like, I can't sit through 2 hours of that ever again. The only way we're going to do that is if we have a bunch of people with us to riff on it. It's the only way I'm going to survive. I can't do that alone again. I legitimately was going to leave during the stream and said, no, I have to stick with it because I'm going to look real stupid if something cool like Mafia 4 shows up at the end. But it didn't. It was Phantom Blade 0, and I went, fuck this noise, and I left as soon as I could. I should have watched Wholesome Direct instead, Chris.
It was so good. It was. All right, Kaylan, what's your number 3?
So my number 3 is Summer Game Fest. I have a lot of the same issues with you guys. A lot of bloat, a lot of filler. But it had more game. Like, didn't have more games. But my thought is like, if Sony had one good game with Astrobot, Summer Game Fest had the same thing with the Lego Horizon, which I'm very excited for. Such a neat idea and a really cool aspect. But there was also other games that I was at least interested in, or at least caught my attention, like Dune Awakening. I'm a sucker for that. I think it was like Metal Tear kind of looked cool. Like there's just like a couple things where it's like it's not for me. Like it's not, oh my god, this is amazing, I'm hyped up. But at least it was like always something new, and there was actual games to see. There was issues with it and like the pacing, but like for what Jeff Keighley is doing on his own and stuff, like it's a really hard balancing act that he's doing, and I applaud him for what he's doing. And
he
can't pick.
Props to him.
Whereas
He's doing the impossible.
Yeah, whereas like PlayStation is a parent company of several studios. The only reason why they didn't have games is because they chose not to have games. Like, so one is like I'm giving him the bump over Sony. Both are not good. Both have their own issues, but I give Jeff Keighley the credit and Summer Game Fest the credit for like doing what they do with the limited resources and capabilities that they have versus Sony, who just chose not to.
Yeah, like it's the same argument with the Game Awards where people are always like, oh, what a waste of a show. Who actually cares? It's like somebody's got to be the mainstream version of it. And that's honestly what Summer Game Fest is. It's now the mainstream version of E3. It's what he's trying to replace it. And let's be real, the big 3 aren't showing up, so you got to do the best with what you got. You got Lego Horizon from Sony, and that's it. I'm trying to think what Xbox, if they even gave anything. I don't think they really did.
I don't think they did. And this is the thing: if they have something cool to announce, they're not going to give it away.
Nintendo brought anything. Like we usually even see some sort of Miyamoto referencing in that.
I don't think we're going to see anything from Nintendo until they announce the Switch, the Super Nintendo Switch.
Also, side note, you know why? Also, why the show sucked? No Hideo Kojima, no Keanu Reeves. What the fuck, Jeff? You have one gimmick, and you didn't even use that. Phil Spencer at least had t-shirts.
He did have t-shirts. Always.
All right, we're getting into the final 2. Chris, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Ubisoft one because it kind of just hit it. Only, I'll be honest, like there's 2 games I'm interested in there. The Avatar DLC is fine. Skull and Bones.
I thought you were going to say Avatar was the one you were waiting for.
Yeah, Avatar's the one I've been waiting for. I just ready to pick it up. No. I'll play
he's
that.
A real big James Cameron fan, all right?
Skull and Bones, I laughed so hard at when it came out because it's definitely becoming the you don't need Sea of Thieves. We have Sea of Thieves at home game. I thought it was supposed to be like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. No, it's like now becoming this ridiculous friggin' I don't even know what the hell it is. Like,
yeah, I was.
They might as well start calling it quintuple A and just keep like committing to the bit.
I was surprised because I didn't have high hopes, but like the fact that Ubisoft is like, no, we're definitely supporting this game and like putting content out. I'm like, really? Like, let it just die. Like
they must have some whales that are giving them just tens of thousands.
I think they have contracts. They have contracts with Singapore that they have to like.
No, but I also think too that I guarantee you that there is 100 people that are just funding this game right now.
Maybe. The other thing too is I thought this was supposed to be like a somewhat down to earth pirate adventure.
Yeah.
Like not playing the game and having not paid attention to it. Like I thought it was like a level, like grounded pirate game. But they're like, no, you're fighting Cthulhu and dragons and like you're a ghost ship. And I'm like, what game is this?
Yeah. It's like
The
Sea of
only
Thieves meets
quadruple game on the market. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I
that's what
also
it is.
laughed
It
at
can
one
be
point where I
everything and
saw-
anything at the same time.
I also laughed at one point. There was like an image where you got to watch pirates walking on the thing. I'm like, no. That's the gripe we have. We don't actually play as pirates. We're just a boat.
We're just a boat. Oh, yeah. So, but what I liked about the Ubisoft one is it kind of had some of that old school E3 feel to it. Like when they came out with opening with, I think they opened with Star Wars, there was like a live orchestra playing like songs from it, and then it went into the trailer. Then they had someone come out and talk about the game a bit. Then they showed the extended gameplay, which was nice.
What
Like,
do you
I
mean
really
it was an
liked-
E3 showing? There was no Just Dance number.
I was you're mocking, but I did miss the Just Dance number. It's something I look forward to in the Ubisoft show.
Really? Okay, yeah. I
Oh, dude, it's
noticed it
so
was good.
cheesy. Like
You
I always
commit to
remember
the
one,
bit.
There's like there's the
Okay.
panda that walks in. I'm like, this is so.
I know a
dumb,
lot of
and I love it.
people really hated Aisha Tyler when she was on there all the time. I'm like, dude, it's the one thing they have.
Yeah, she was awesome. I loved her. Anyways,
She was their Kevin
Um,
Butler for a while.
yeah.
I don't miss Aisha Tyler. No offense, Aisha Tyler. Like
What,
but-
you didn't like Girlwood?
Yeah,
No,
hashtag
it was just it
girlwood.
was so cringy. Whereas like I don't mind if it's a bit. Like Just Dance segment is super cringy, but it's 3 minutes at most. But like I don't know. I don't feel
They
she
were trying to
brought
be the
anything-
cool dad.
The cool dad.
I think that's-
Ubisoft for a
that's
while
the
was
head
the
of
Steve
podcast.
Buscemi of E3 presentations.
Yeah. Hello, fellow children. But yeah, like it felt like an old school like presentation with the orchestra being there a little bit, and then they show gameplay. They had people on stage to talk a bit about the game, but it never felt like overstayed. Like I never was bored where I was like, stop talking. Oh my god.
They didn't
even
bring
though-
James Cameron out to talk for 20 minutes about
Oh
his movie.
god, yeah. Like
Do you remember that?
I do. That was brutal. It honestly felt like probably Ubisoft's best presentation in a while of like theirs. And yeah, like even though there was only 2 main games I was interested in, I felt like it had a good balance of here's some good games. We're going to show gameplay and talk about it and have like a little orchestra and like have the whole thing, and nothing overstays its welcome for too long. Even when they were showing me like Skull and Bones, I wasn't like, oh my god, this is dragging. Like it was more just like, why is there a dragon in this Pirates game? I don't understand.
I give them
Lost.
props though for showing off the crew too and showing the roadmap, considering everybody's still really pissed off at them for getting rid of
Yeah,
the original.
old move again, right?
That was
Like,
ballsy. Also,
That's
when I
ballsy.
saw that.
Xbox didn't have the balls to even mention Hi-Fi Rush during their entire
we
stream.
we cut the crew, but definitely trust us. This game's going.
Yeah, this roadmap is we're gonna stick to this, and it's not gonna go away ever.
By now.
Fine now. But yeah, so my number 2 is Ubisoft. I could rewatch that and I would feel delighted. I may actually rewatch some of the Star Wars and Assassin's Creed stuff, just to like closer to November. I may go back and watch it again just to get hyped for the 2 games coming out.
Adam, silver podium.
Well, I mean, clearly Xbox is number 2. I mean, no, State of Play again. I know that a lot of people like this. This is gonna be my putting my flag in the ground. I know that y'all really enjoy Outlaws and Shadows. I don't care. Game Fest. I know there's a lot of good games in there. Way too fucking long. State of Play is not as bad as what people are saying it is, but it's because they always have to fucking go into it expecting that Sony's going to give you 10 amazing blockbusters every single time. Guys, it's a State of Play. Learn your fucking lesson. This was like their second best State of Play they've ever done. Even though I only cared for like 3 things in it, I recognize that most of what was in there was actually really good, and it was 35 minutes. It didn't demand any time out of me. So, like, I can't complain with it. I mean, look, do I want to be mad at Concord? Yes. But it looked like, for those who are into hero shooters, it looks great. Do I want to be mad that like half of it was Soulsborne's? Yes. But it's what's popular. I have to accept that. At least it wasn't Fortnite ads over and over again like friggin' Summer Game Fest was. But like, horror games, hero shooters, Soulsborne's, it's what's in. I have to respect that. That's what they went with for their what time they had. And then they gave me 3 things I enjoyed in Infinite Nikki, which I'm very curious about, Monster Hunter Wilds, and then Astrobot obviously is like the big thing of all of it. 23% curiosity rate, 8% wishlist rate. It's not great, but it's not bad. But like, it took no time out of my day. Like, I know a lot of people want more from it. I'm mad too that they didn't just go all out, but at the same time, I don't think they have much to show, and it would just be cinematic trailers, and we'd all be sitting there being like, well, who cares? Like, it's not coming out till next year anyway. Whereas they basically went, hey, here's all the stuff you're going to expect coming out soon. Instead of insulting you, which was, I'll get into with my number one. There's still some things I can nitpick, but for the time being, it's like, look, at least they didn't give me a bunch of things that may just get, pushed back to 2026. At least this was stuff that was interesting and soon. So it's the one thing that put it above Summer Game Fest at that point.
Fair enough. For me, it was very close in terms of which one gets number 1 and number 2.
I don't think that's true, because Splinter Cell wasn't at Ubisoft. I'm amazed you didn't disqualify it.
You guys didn't stick around for the one more thing? No, I'm kidding. Imagine.
Yeah, the addition of Sam Fisher into X-Defiant, because that's probably the next time you'll see him anywhere.
No,
I waited until the screen. I waited till the screen went dark just in case.
I mean, he's the dragon in Skull and Bones. That's him.
So yeah, for me, it's a very tough call, and it could go one of two ways. But I think right now I'm gonna make the judgment that Ubisoft is my number 2 pick or second place. It was fantastic. That was the one show that I was like, I want to play this now. I want to play this now. And the thing I liked about it is that we had a lot of concrete dates of like, hey, this is coming out this time. This is coming out now. Like, this is coming out, whenever. And so I want to see Star Wars Outlaws, and that is probably my most anticipated game for 2024. And so I love that we got to get a deep dive into it, see them play it, and it's just, I felt like I want this right now. Like, August cannot come soon enough. And then similarly with Assassin's Creed, we had a lot of questions about Assassin's Creed and what that looked like. And I think it answered a lot of our questions. It showed what we wanted to see. You can be a brute, you can do the action RPG sort of new era of Assassin's Creed, or you could be a super sneaky assassin ninja. And I'm like, I 100% am going to play that game strictly as a ninja.
Oh, same.
It looks so good. And so the fact they had 2 games that they went deep dives into, we knew about them, which is kind of sucked. But I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world, but they went deep in the games that we wanted to see, and there was some filler, but nothing ever lasted long. X-Defiant didn't last long. Prince of Persia didn't last super long. I love how they announced, hey, by the way, we're working on a Sands of Time. We're like, we knew that.
We're like,
that's
we
not
know,
a surprise.
but we're not convinced you actually are at this point.
Yeah. But nothing overstayed its welcome, and I felt there was a little bit of everything for anybody. It was an hour show, and it only felt like it was 30 minutes. So I commend them on that. So,
I will say the one complaint that I really have about it is there was no when I went to go see what was announced, I'm like, you had no surprises, not a thing.
That's honestly, if they had come out at the end of the show and been like, oh, by the way, one more thing, and
you think about the stuff they could if assuming they're working on stuff like you said, a Splinter Cell, Beyond Good and Evil, all these there's a lot of stuff out there that people are like, if you give us something, even if it's new IP, just something different. But the fact that it was just the 2 games they're doing, and then basically updates to stuff, and then Anno, which, no offense, that's a very niche market, so that no one cares, unless you're in that market. So when I read that list, I went, you really couldn't, not even a cinematic trailer of something to surprise people with? That's really, really disappointing for 12 months of time, but okay.
Yeah, I think if they had come out with a one more thing and announced a new game in a beloved franchise, whether it's hey, Rainbow Six Vegas 3 is coming out, or Gears or Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 3,
yeah, just anything at that point. Even if you don't personally care about it, just the fact that they didn't even have anything really new to show was just kind of
because after November we have nothing on the horizon to look forward to for Ubisoft. So I feel like they would have been hey, we got these 2 projects that are going to be done by the end of 2024. Here's what you can look forward to next. And I think having a trailer where it just, like I said, go to black, have the three green circles come up and be 2026. That would have been enough, right? Just to confirm that it's real, that there's something coming. It doesn't have to be much.
I was going to say, if that happened, you would have put it at number 1.
Oh,
I didn't even care if there wasn't a trailer or anything.
Oh, yeah.
I just to have the confirmation of just hey, we are working on it, because it's been rumored that they're making a new Splinter Cell game, or they're making a remake of it or something like that. Like to have some sort of confirmation would just be amazing.
Yeah. Actually, I'm surprised, Adam, because I think there's something you didn't see. You said for Assassin's Creed to be good, you needed bamboo straw in water like a real ninja.
That's true.
And in the gameplay, it did that. You can
That's
crawl
why
into
I put
the
a
water.
curious rating on it, because it did the thing.
She did it. When I saw it, I literally went, "Oh shit, I gotta call Adam." Like it was immediately like. In
Oh,
my
I
head.
noticed. But at the same time, I'm like, that's what put it from a not interested to I'm curious at least now. You're at least doing the thing I'm asking. Honestly, if I'm being completely real with you guys, I'm at the point of I'm waiting to see how long it takes to beat it. If it's short enough, then I'm actually curious. Then I'm actually like really interested. But if it ends up being another Valhalla, I don't like even Chris, even if you're console sharing it, I don't think I might actually even try it. I don't even know if I actually try it if it's a long game again.
Yeah.
If it's similar to the size of what Mirage was, I make maybe 1.5 Mirages. Maybe I'll look into it. But if it's another Valhalla, I'm sorry, Ubisoft, fuck off with that.
I think the fact that they've got two playable characters with two different play styles, I think that's an indication that it'll probably be a smaller
That's
game.
my hope too.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
So anyway, so we know what number one is, because there's no differentiation.
Let's
here.
all just talk about Xbox for a little bit. Like, what did we like about Xbox?
So it was a bad show as well. It just happens to be the best of the night.
Honestly, for me, like this felt like quintessential. Like this brought me back to E3 levels of hype. Like,
oh yeah,
I had low expectations for Xbox, and Xbox kept coming out with amazing games. And it's like, and we got this, and we got this, and like some of these games I haven't heard of, but it's just I want to try it. I want to play it just because.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie. Like I'll sit here and flat out say, and me being not even being generous with it, half of that show was interesting. There's still a lot of I don't cares, but like. Even then, like, when you look at games that we hadn't seen before, like, obviously, South of Midnight, we got a little bit better look of that clear, obscure Expedition 33 game, Chris, that, like, turn-based RPG one. That came out of fucking nowhere.
That came out of nowhere. It looked like some generic Unreal Engine action game. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm sure people like this.
Actually interested in Black Ops. The new Doom game. Yeah. I might not actually play it, because Doom, for whatever reason, hasn't worked, but it's such a fucking cool concept.
Oh, no. Rip and tear, man. Rip and tear.
Oh, I'm playing Doom day it comes out.
There's a lot of stuff there. It's like I said, 50% curiosity, and my wish list raised at 10%, which is pretty good for given how many games it was. It was just over an hour's worth. What did I have the clock time? It's 78 minutes. If 10% of that is I'm going to play this, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I loved seeing like Metal Gear Solid Delta. Like that looked amazing and want to play that one. Yeah, like
I will say though, the only thing that I want to put against Xbox is me being curious about a lot of these games isn't necessarily indicative of the games themselves. Game Pass does do a little bit of the lifting because it's a lot easier to be interested in something when you realize you're not going to have to pay for it.
Oh, 100%.
So like,
there's some of these
am I actually interested in, say, for example, Perfect Dark and Fable right now? I'm not really trustworthy of it, but I know when it comes out there, I'm just going to get to play without having to throw another $70, $80 at it. Same with like Stalker 2, which looked really, really good, but I'm unsure about. Same with Indiana Jones. Looks fine, but I'm unsure about. But that unsureness is a little easier to stomach when you realize you're not putting a price tag on it.
Yeah.
Like if Sony was putting all of their games that they showed off at State of Play on their extra service, I might be saying much nicer things about Sony, but I got to pay for that shit.
I was surprised because, like, if you think about Xbox right before this showcase, they were not in a good spot.
I wish I had saved the current, or I wish I had saved pre that stream what the current release calendar was, and then had gone and checked what it was like a week later and see just how much stuff they've now put in that calendar in the nenext like 6 months.
I was gonna make the comment, Chris, like you're like from what they were to what they are now, like. I was telling Adam in the stream, like I got my Xbox for Starfield and I loved it, but I'm also kind of like, man, did I buy a $500 console for one game? Like I've not used it much else. And I was like, why do I have this? Like, Like, and after this conference, I'm like, no, I am so thankful I have an Xbox
Like
now.
as
I'm so
of
glad I
right
have
now,
Game Pass.
there are
Yeah.
guaranteed 3 games, assuming they come out this year, that I'm going to play on Xbox. That's already
Yeah.
a guarantee, and that's not counting
Yeah.
other things that I'll probably take a look at anyway. But like 100% sure, 3.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there's
If
I
if
can't
I'm being
remember.
like extra generous, I can probably almost go to 10. But it's more of in the case
Yeah.
of like I'll probably get around to you. Like that's where the rest of it is. But 3 of them are as soon as you drop, I'm fucking playing you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is good because, as we know, when Xbox is bad, Sony gets arrogant. When Sony's bad, Xbox gets arrogant. Like, it's always kind of like you got to keep them both on their toes, or else one of them will fail and will
Mhm.
be kind of screwed. And I mean, I personally was actually pretty worried about, the whole Xbox thing because I've only just joined this generation and I got my Series X like the day it came out. I was able to pre-order it and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And I loved it at first because I was in the spot where not only was I playing the new Xbox games that came out, I was also catching up on the previous Xbox games like Gears 5 and Forza Horizon 4 and stuff like that. But there were still new releases. I kind of hit that point where it was like, of the older games that came out, I had a couple left and I was like, well, I'll play those one day. And the new releases, it was like Starfield and it didn't hit. Like, I liked it. I enjoyed my time with it, but it's not like it stuck with me like Skyrim did, where it's
Mhm.
like, I'm going to go in there and mess around one day. So I was even like, I would play Xbox just because it's like, well, I have all this Game Pass. I have till like 2026 because I get the Microsoft rewards and it keeps, I keep getting new months and I'm like, I got to use it or else I'm just wasting this free game service. But I would just play like all these indie games, which I liked. But again, I wouldn't have bought my Xbox just for these indie games. I have a PC. I could just stream it on the Steam Deck, or I could go on my PC, launch PC Game Pass, and play it there, and pay cheaper too if I was paying for it and not using these rewards. So it was kind of like I don't know what to do with this Xbox because I'm actually worried if I'd even need it in the future. Like I started to debate this stuff, especially with like, well, it comes to Steam day one, I can just buy it there if there is the odd game, or you know what, they're even putting some on PlayStation. Hi-Fi Rush, maybe I would have just bought on PlayStation instead of Steam or something like it started to feel that way. And then now this showcase has just reminded me like, no, Xbox probably had all this stuff. They've been planning this since January, but as all this bad stuff was happening, they couldn't say anything because if they did, then this wouldn't have hit as hard. So they couldn't be like, listen, we know we're closing a studio and you guys feel like there's no games coming out because Redfall kind of sucked and Starfield was decent, but not,
Yeah, it
not a
is like the
system
honest
seller.
difference in how like last year when they did their stuff, like we're like they've got games, but not nearly as much. I still feel similarly with Xbox, where I look at a lot of the games that we saw and I went, I'm not convinced we're getting like the best of the best. I'm not thinking we're getting Game of the Year level games, but they've got more coming, which means more opportunities for them to actually land this time.
Well, this is
Yeah.
also what I said to you, Adam, in the stream. Like, for me, like with Game Pass and the way that Xbox, like, I don't. The way I kind of look at it is, I think each could have their own stream. I think PlayStation can be the triple A. This is pinnacle gaming. We're making these single player triple A, super expensive to make games, but they come out once, maybe twice a year, right? And then Xbox, the way I see that they should go is, hey, we're not making the game of the year contenders, but we are making high quality triple A, maybe double A games, but they're coming out every 3 months. Like there is always
Mhm.
something new, something decent to play. Kind of like the Netflix stream. Like no one's ever going to bat and saying Netflix makes the best shows.
And if that's what
HBO.
they're looking to do now, that's exactly what works
Mhm.
with me. Like if we're getting a bunch
Yeah.
of 7s and 8s like over the course of the year, like I'm okay with that. If they don't
Yeah.
pop out a 9 or a 10, no biggie, because
Yeah.
I'm still getting value.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. Like I
And I
think
think
that
that's where
oh,
they're
sorry, go-
going. No,
yeah.
that's fine.
I was going to say basically same thing where it's like, I think that when they do the 10 out of 10s, it's going to be the double A type of games. Like Hellblade 2 to me is like a
Mhm.
double A. It has a budget of a triple A, don't get me wrong, but with what the game is, it's like a double A game. It's like that
Double A
Plague
scope.
Tale. Yeah, like the Plague Tale Requiem, like that kind of stuff. I know
Yeah.
they're not with Xbox, but they did release day one on Game Pass. And I think again, when they do have the heavy hitters that are like really, really, really high scoring, it is going to be that double A kind of stuff, while their big triple A stuff is just like 7s and 8s. where it's like, oh, Perfect Dark was so fun to just play through, or Fable was fun to go in and like do Fable things and that kind of stuff, for sure.
I
think
think
it's spot on.
like the most interesting thing to me is like I wonder what I would be like if it was 26-year-old me rather than 36-year-old me, like going back 10 years, because I'm so fucking jaded by so much of the industry and so much like just seeing a certain game type now makes me just turn off. Like like Kaylan, we watch Atom Fall. We basically just joke that it looked like all the things that have been like overdone to death, but now they've put it all together into one single stream, and we're just like, how is like that might actually be good, but we've seen what all of these games turn out to be like now, and we're like, there's no way, right? Like there's just no goddamn way like that's gonna be any good. I want to be interested in Avowed, but every time I look at stuff from Avowed, I'm like, it's another open world RPG. Like I can't. There's a lot of these things where it really is falling into that range of like, I know I should be excited by this, and I just can't, which is why I wish I could be like 25, 26-year-old me who was like right at that age of like where everything was awesome looking.
Well, I think the other thing too, though, with Xbox and the benefit that they have is that there's no risk, right? Like Avowed is one where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I might like it. There's no risk to try it. I could download it, and the only thing it costs me is some bandwidth. Like,
well, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I also have like a higher curiosity rate than most, because it does have the advantage of, yeah, I'm interested in playing you if I don't have to throw any extra cash at it.
I'm paying for it anyway, so.
Like if this was Sony's, I think like if I was honestly giving like a better judgment of it, I think my curiosity rate would be somewhere between like 30-35% rather than 50, just because I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm curious to see what that's like, but do I really want to spend $80 on that? It's like,
yeah. But yeah, overall, so going through the titles, let's tally that up. So bottom of the tier, Summer Game Fest, 5 points.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, you tried your best.
Yeah.
So coming in third place, Sony, you did not try your best.
How many points?
Number 2, Ubisoft, and number 1 is Xbox.
How many points between Sony and Ubisoft?
So the final ranking, Xbox got 12 points, Ubisoft got 7 points, Sony got 6 points, and Summer Game Fest got 4 points. So there is a clear leader there, and the rest is kind of in the middle.
I mean, the
rest is all competing. Yeah, it was just nonstop. Like it kept going. I remember you guys were streaming it, and I was like, "Oh, should I hop into the stream because this is still going?" Like I couldn't tell how much longer.
I'm looking at the list. The longest I went without a game of interest is 4 games, and that was the point where it was Mecha Break, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, I think it was, Avowed, and Atom Fall. And you know that was like not even 5 minutes probably.
Yeah.
Because none of them were like really long trailers. Because then that was in between Indiana Jones and then Assassin's Creed and Stalker 2 towards the end. Like, there was really no points where I was like, unlike Summer Game Fest, where it was like I felt like 3 years that I was sitting in limbo waiting for something.
Yeah.
Good on you, Xbox.
Good on you, Xbox. And good on us for another episode. If you like that and you want to hear more, you can find us every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we post new episodes every week. If you want a little bit more content, we do a side quest every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week, I think we're going to be talking about our favorite games from this week's showcase. Don't hold me to that. We'll see. And then on Mondays,
I better hold you to it.
I made notes.
And then I'm giving everyone room if they don't. Anyways, and then on Mondays, Adam hosts his Retro Rando, where he takes a random ROM and kind of gives it a little bit of time to play.
Hopefully not a casino game like it was this week.
But yeah, if you want to check that out, you can find all of that content on youtube.com. Just search for PixelPlay Podcast. Or if you're just looking for the podcast, we're wherever you get your podcasts. If you've got a place to find it, we're there. If we're not, please let us know by going to our Discord at linktr.ee/PixelPlay Podcast. If you're this far, hit the like, hit the subscribe. You know, will it make you cool? Probably. It's like smoking.
Definitely.
It'll make you cool, so just do it. Leave a comment as well. We really appreciate it. And with that, we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.